So we're about to live stream it. Let's see. Okay. And y'all have access to the forums now?
Yeah.
Right, Richard and Tom?
Yep.
I got it. And yeah, you just want to make sure that's going to be final judging. Final judging is now live. Can you post this onto the Discord? And yeah, feel free to post your comments in there. Put your comments in that. So yeah, here. I mean, I can advertise that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get started now.
Wait, no, not until I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more minute. Sorry about this. Okay, so I need to send a message, so I think we're good to go. Aaron, I think you should have permission to share screen now if you want to. I'm gonna set up my timer. Remember, there are gonna be hard deadlines, 3:30 for your presentation, 3:30 for questions.
Update on the YouTube live stream. Yes. I think it's only sharing the big window.
So fine.
I think it's. Is it because view gallery? Go to view gallery. Yeah. Wait. One second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's like interaction. No.
Does it? Go ahead.
Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic.
It's not sharing screen. Just
huh?
It's share screen. Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic. Good luck, guys.
All right, and let me know when you're ready to start, and I can start the timer as well.
No.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, go for it. There's no volume on the video.
One sec. A little bit confused about that. Does anybody, could you all like play it in the room perhaps? I can just send the link if you all have the ability to play the video. Is that okay?
I can try.
Okay. I can also try to troubleshoot that really quickly too.
Let me try my screen and see if that works.
Okay.
I think that's working for me for some reason.
Do you want to just talk over it and like move through the YouTube video to show your demo?
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I think that's what we'll do.
All right, I'll stop sharing screen. So let me know when you want to start.
Okay. Let me switch back. Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Aaron, and that's Sienna, who's also working on our project. And this is Burton, who's also in the camera, but he's not here with us right now. But essentially what this project is a project whereby small investors will have the opportunity to invest in startup companies by means of offering or by means of funding a royalty deal for startups instead of an equity deal. So this is a crowdfunding platform whereby small investors pool their money together fulfill a royalty deal. And for the startup funder, they actually don't have to give up any equity. So yeah, we're actually gonna, in the video in a second, get into some of the demos of that. But the target demographic is a startup founder who doesn't want to give up equity because they're very, very confident in their idea. It's kind of an alternate form of financing. So we're going to get into the flows. So this is the homepage from the perspective of the investor, which can be anyone. You don't need to be accredited. Yeah, so you can see like a bunch of different offers, a bunch of different posts from early stage companies. You can see the percentage of the royalty deal, and you can see the theoretical max return based on the terms that they have discussed. So if we click on one of these companies that we're interested in, we can see more details about the company. We can see links to the relevant founders, for example, their profiles about them. Important thing is that we also have a benchmark section so that for a company, in order to raise like money for the next round to be able to keep funding themselves on these royalty deals, they can present their benchmarks and present their progress to all of their investors so that they can keep their investor confidence up. Ultimately, for an investor, if they are not confident in a startup, then they just have the ability to choose to unsubscribe or not invest in them for the next term, for the next month that they raise. And then you can see like all of the active royalties there, like kind of the portfolio. And then there's also the investor profile as well as the founder profile.
We also skipped over the search page because the video went a little bit fast, but you can see that we can also search for companies, and after clicking on each company, you get the details as well as the profiles.
Yeah. And then for a little bit of the technical specifications, we have an implementation in React Native with a Firebase backend, just because it's quick and easy. We'd have to investigate what sort of financial APIs we would be able to use in order to make it all work together.
20 seconds. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's good for us.
Cool. Really quick for what you built. So we saw were Figma mocks, right? So what did you actually build using the React and Firebase stuff?
Yeah. So as of right now, we have, I don't know if you can see my.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. So we have like a demo of one of the companies. There is like a database that has like, you know, burner data for like all of the ones that you saw in the Figma. But just for the sake of implementation, this is like one that is fully implemented using Firestore for like all of the text, and then Firebase storage is being attempted to be used for some of these pictures. It's a little bit slow, so I chose to comment it out. But yeah, you can kind of see like founder profiles about, etc.
Also, the company profile page, right?
Yes, that's the company profile page that we were just on right here. It's kind of hard to see. But...
And is that the main page you coded?
This is the main page. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah, and then also we're kind of working on the search as well. We just don't have a lot of companies other than the example company. But yeah.
Can you explain the monetization again?
So the plan to monetize would be to just take a very small percentage of the money invested by the investors in every fund.
No, how does the investor invest and recoup?
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, so essentially all of the startups are negotiating royalty deals once they actually have product, once they're actually generating revenue. They would be obliged to pay like our firm VentureBits a percentage of that revenue. And then we as VentureBits would distribute that revenue back to all of the people who had put money into the fund to fund the royalty deal.
What if I want to coast for 3 years and I'm not generating any royalties?
Yeah, so essentially all of the startup. Sorry, what was that?
So I could continue. I think we had a waiting room thing. Continue.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, if in the event that one was kind of coasting and not generating royalties, it would theoretically be very difficult for them to like raise, since you have to raise month to month. Since it's like an alternative version of financing that's like super accountable and doesn't cost equity. So it's a little bit risky for like the startup founder, but ultimately the risk pays off in the event that they don't want to give up any equity.
It was a 36-hour event this weekend. If I could give you another 6 hours, what would you focus on?
Yeah, I think that it would be really important to actually investigate like the actual finance APIs that we would need. We just don't have a huge fintech background. We actually need to learn how feasible some of the finance is.
And why do you choose to start with like venture-backed startups? Why wouldn't you start with like small businesses like I'm starting a new restaurant, or is it that type? So kind of which type is most suitable for royalties instead of equity, and why would you choose that group?
So I think it kind of like comes to perhaps like a pain point that I feel perhaps like as a startup founder that's in school, you're kind of like nervous to take like the VC gasoline whenever you're like still trying to get a degree due to like social reasons and whatnot, like from parents perhaps. It would be really, really cool to be able to like actually get money for working on my startup without having to just go like off the deep end into VC and like theoretically drop out.
Sure. And then in terms of royalties versus equity, how is it structurally different? I imagine if I take this royalty deal, I mean, my valuation of my startup is just kind of less. So I don't see how it's structurally that different from equity, except I imagine legally it's much harder to get paid through royalties.
Yeah, so I think that in theory, like the startup founder may have like slower growth as a result of taking a royalty deal. But at the same time, if they do have confidence like in their ability to bootstrap them, then this would finance them through that bootstrap period. And then if they were to generate like a I don't know, 2000x return or something like that, they would get to keep 100% equity.
I'm sorry, out of time, so you have to stop questions now. Sorry, Lucy, you can like ask one question, but then you have to stop. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, why would someone choose your app over Kickstarter?
So I think that here it's pretty the terms in which you can be repaid are like pretty transparent. I think that you're kind of able to fund like month to month, and you kind of see like what your max return is, and it's super accountable because there are so many benchmarks and metrics that all of the investors are sort of reviewing together.
I'm sorry, we have to stop questions now. Aaron and Sienna, thank you so much. You can leave the Zoom now. Just we have like around 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes like fill in your scores. If you need more time, that's completely fine. Also, sorry, Ivan, can you hear me? So were you able to catch everything on the YouTube live stream, and you want to score right now, or do you want to go with the YouTube live stream later and score the Steam later then?
We can score right now. I think that's good to do it while we have fresh.
You were something like this one, royalty based.
Crowdfunding is pretty common, and royalty based. I have usually it's for like restaurants who want to get started out, and the like equity, yeah, is just like it's a rev share. So yeah, I've seen this idea a few times.
Sorry, what was the it's Venture Bits, but what's the team name?
Oh, the team name is 1 snack, 2 hack, 3 makes stacks.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Let me know when we're done with scoring, and I can let the next team in.
I'm all set.
Okay.
Do you want to just say what we scored really quick just to calibrate? Like, I don't think we have to talk about every one, but I'm kind of curious people's scales.
Yeah, I normally shoot for 17 and +1 or +2 or plus, whatever, I like them. So I did technicality 17, innovation 18, track requirements 18. I'm assuming they were in Fintech. Presentation was 17. I don't know that that's their fault for trying to show the thing, whatever. And impact 17.
Okay, I was actually thinking 10 was average, so were you guys doing more like the 17 thing or more like 10 is or a different scale?
I put 18 across the board. I did not think of 10 as average.
Okay.
But I mean, it all works out in the end. I would stick to the scale that you've been using.
Yeah, well, we didn't do one, so we can make it up now. Is that what you did, Lucy? Like,
I stuck with 10 is average. So yeah, I'm like in the 10 to 15.
okay, I think it's fine if we stick to our thing. I don't know. Do we have to all do the same scale?
Yeah, I think that's fine. And, it sounds like 2 of you are basing it on 10 and 2 of us are basing it on 17, 18.
Oh,
I mean, the average is gonna work out, right?
yeah.
So, Lucy, Dom, have you submitted your forms?
I didn't yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna submit it later until I see maybe 2 or 3 more, and then I can get a little calibrated to make sure. I know
Lucy,
what
quick question.
happens.
Have you submitted your form? I can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, she nodded.
But because that hasn't registered on the.
Sorry, same there. I was waiting to get calibrated as well first.
Okay, fair enough.
If it's okay.
So I can let the next team in, if that sounds fine.
Yep.
All right. So next team, their name is Quantum Gurus. They're the second Fintech team. Just letting them in now. So give me 1 second. Right.
Okay.
Quantum Gurus. Yeah, I'm just letting them in now. This is. Okay, sorry, give me 1 second.
So can we start?
Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry, I put you in the waiting room by mistake. That was my bad. Okay. Basically, how this is going to work is 3.5 minutes presentation, 3.5 minutes questions, and we're going to have like a hard deadline. So that means I will have to cut you off if you exceed that. But yes, judges, are we good to go? Yeah, you can start.
Are we waiting for Lucy?
Yeah, 1 second. Give us a minute, sorry.
I think Lucy's in the room here. Yeah, cool.
Hello everyone. We are Team Quantum Gurus. My name is Soumya Chaudhary and my team members are Shivardhan Shah and Dashwa Parikh. So we first dabbled with various products surrounding microloans, decentralized finance, insurance products, etc. Through some research, we realized that a major chunk of the world is way behind in terms of financial literacy, which constitutes about 67% of young adults between the ages of 15 and 35, as reported by the World Bank. There have been endless technical advancements in how we deal with day-to-day financial transactions, be it through Apple Pay, PayPal, or now cryptocurrencies. But all of these amazing tools are catering to a very small demographic of people. Most schools do not even cover personal finance in their curriculum. So there's a dire need to reach a larger audience to tackle the fundamental blocks surrounding financial literacy in people's mindset using high-end technology. Where's My Money is an app that simply takes in financial jargon and simplifies it for you while giving you a taste of managing your money without affording real losses so that you can make wiser decisions in real life. Here are some key features of our app. It'll have multiple learning modules, curated short videos, and simulators to experience financial instruments. It also aims to gamify the whole experience of learning how to manage your finances. Let's move on to the prototype.
Yeah, I'll just switch the screen. So yeah, so essentially, here's our app. We first start with the onboarding. Yeah, so some cool graphics. Just a second. Yeah, so we can first just go ahead and sign up. So when you first open the screen, you are introduced with the learning courses section. So this section is essentially split into two parts. First is daily short videos, which sort of, introduces our users to latest technology around fintech. So for the instance, you can see Google Pay here. Then after that, you can see all our modules. For instance, we have personal finance, savings, expenses, and budgeting. How to use your credit cards and all those things. So if I open one of these modules, it's essentially a combination of both content and videos. And essentially our users can go through them. And to complete each of these modules, you essentially have to give a quiz. So this quiz is not just any kind of quiz. There are essentially no right or wrong answers. Through these quizzes, we essentially want our users to sort of ponder into different financial situation and understand how their mindset is towards, if it's either towards saving or spending. And after completing each of these quizzes, you are essentially awarded with a virtual money, which you can then go ahead and use in our virtual simulator. So for instance, there's this question that you want to go on a trip to Bangkok. There's, you have $7,000 in your bank and you have to sort of spend $1,500. So essentially what do? Do you go on the trip, ask your richest friend for sponsorship, play sick, and stuff like that. So let's say if I press on the first option, you essentially see a overview of how the question, the answer is. And essentially, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. At the bottom, you essentially see how different users are sort of answering this question. Over time, what we do essentially is we gather data on each of your answers. And after you complete each of these modules, we send you an email, just showing you how your mindset is changing over time. And we believe that over courses, you'll see that our users might, reach an optimal point. So yeah, after you have completed each of these courses, you are awarded with the money, which you can essentially use in our stock exchange simulator. So for the demo, we actually wanted to use the real API, but for the demo, we have manually done it. Essentially, what happens is each day there's a set of news which is manually pushed into our app. For instance, the first one says that Uber drivers are trying to face actions for, charging extra to switch on the AC. Or, Apple has launched their new iPhone 13. So essentially the news is pushed out on the first day, and the users can just, based on this news, can sort of purchase or, sell their stock. And for the instance, like we had that Uber thing.
I think we're out of time now. So if you could stop sharing your screen, that'd be great. Thanks. Just want to make sure there's time to ask questions. Okay, I can kick off the first question. So can you think of someone that you actually know who would need this really badly, much more than the average user you would expect to get? Can you think of a person like that? And then the follow-up is to describe them.
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, so I would probably say that I have a friend on campus. I wouldn't name him or her personally, but someone who spends, the entirety of the pocket money, I would say, or the monthly allowance that he or she gets in a couple of weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, as he or she gets it. So I think this is just one of the examples, how people are still, do not really know how to manage their own finances. Witnessing him or her actually struggling to manage their monthly finances on campus has been one of the, live experiences that we've had that led us to creating this project.
Thanks. Can you clarify, so if I missed that, are you going to be creating the content, or how are you getting the content for the quizzes? And
we'll be curating the content ourselves as well as the whole structure of the product.
Got it. So it seems like, your target audience is people who are not yet financially literate. So how do you view like the lifetime monetization, like lifetime value of a particular user, right? Do you have like a plan for offboarding people? Like what is sort of your analysis around, your market research in terms of, profit per customer?
So we don't.
We had a Acha, Shrivarshan, you can go ahead.
So we see this product more oriented towards edtech, and essentially we have been seeing a lot of schools in US and or even Finland, countries like Finland, adopting personal finance in their curriculum. So one of the monetization technique my thought of was to sort of introduce this experience into the curriculum, similar to how Kahoot or quizzes are doing with formative assessments.
We have time for one more question, sorry.
So you mentioned the 67% of people ages 13 to 35 are financial illiterate. Was that statistic for US specifically or worldwide?
Worldwide.
Okay, so what fraction of people who are financially literate do you think are tech savvy enough to be able to use such an app?
We are targeting this app towards like the younger generation, like the people in universities and colleges who are yet to graduate, who are yet to set foot in the real world, and we are trying to make it as easy and as layman-like as possible, so that anyone can understand and go through the courses and enjoy using the app.
Got it, thanks.
I think, thank you for your presentation. You can leave the Zoom call now, and judges, you can take this time to score them. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Also,
Thank you.
we can't discuss amongst ourselves, right?
Yes, unless you think we should stop the lecture.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to more, to double check that that's true.
What was the project name? I cut them team name. Does the project have it?
So the team name was
Quantum Gurus.
Yeah, Quantum Gurus, and I think that's the one that should be done a drop down list. Also, are we fine with times, or would you like me to increase them from 3 to 4 minutes maybe?
Let them go over, keep telling 3.5, let them go over, a little.
Okay. Let me know when we're done, then I can let the new team in. So we're moving on to travel now, the travel.
So that those both were fintech, I assume.
Yeah. Sorry, are we good with chatting? Can I
Yep.
add the next one?
All right.
Okay. Yep, good. All right. I'm adding the next thing. They're called bulldogs and huskies. That's their team name. And this is the travel track. Hi everyone. So how this is going to work is that you have 3.5 minutes to present, followed by 3.5 minutes of questions, and we're we're kind of short on time, so we're going to keep this like we're going to have hard deadlines, and I might stop you in the middle. So just make sure that your presentation ends in time, so we have enough time for questions. Sound good? All right. I think you guys have access to share screen, so start whenever, and I'll start my time as well.
I think you're muted, Joshua, if you're talking.
Are you guys good to start? We can't hear you. All of you are muted.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start whenever.
Joshua, do you want to pull up the slides?
Hi. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. We are Loca, your virtual travel guide that lives in your pocket.
Yeah, so Loca was actually inspired by my experiences moving into college. I moved into Morse College at Yale, and right in front of my building, there was this statue or this sculpture called Lipstick Ascending on Caterpillar Tracks. And there was no context to this sculpture that was right in front of my building. So I ended up asking around to a lot
Sorry,
of
we're
people
having
and-
technical difficulties. Give us a second.
Am I okay to go? Okay, yeah. So so there was this sculpture outside of my building that I had no context for really. And so I had to ask people in my community, my older students and faculty, what this was. And I found out that it was actually a piece of protest art from the Vietnam War era. And it actually has a really interesting backstory. And that's the idea behind Loca, that a lot of people have not a wealth of knowledge about items within their community that they see every day that people don't necessarily really have access to when you don't live in that city. So we designed an app that lets you snap a picture. And from that picture, you'll get information about any object of interest or public art that you see that is provided by users who care about helping people learn about their community.
And I'm going to give a quick demo. Joshua, I just need you to stop sharing the screen. Perfect. Okay. So this is Loca. This is our sign-in page. So I'm just going to sign into my portal really quickly. And it tells me my password's insecure. So our default landing page is the nearby feature. So you can see monuments that are nearby your current location. You can view more information about them and see what they look like as well. But then our main feature is the explore feature. So you can take a picture. The camera's facing me because I'm on my laptop. But if I was looking at the caterpillar tank, I would be able to, our database will recognize the image that we're seeing and we can see the information about it, read more, as well as you can see your recent trips. So you can reminisce on all those fun vacations you took, read more about the monuments that you may have seen. And as well, we have our login and logout page.
All right, back to the presentation. So at a technical level, what we do is we build, using Google Cloud Platform, we build a list of monuments that are geolocated in the world and a list of images that correspond to each monument. And when we do this, so normally this would be given by individual users who are at a particular place and take a photo of it. To sort of demonstrate what that might look like in the future, what I've done is we've sort of scraped through Wikipedia and gotten the images associated with articles with geolocations in New Haven. And so this is a small snapshot of what the sort of finished data might look like. And so then what we do is we use Google Cloud Vision API as well as the sort of storage and compute platforms that sort of let us string everything together to more efficiently get what are the what are the monuments near you that look like the image you posted that are near enough to you that it could feasibly be that monument? And this combination of geolocation and vision data makes for a far more effective AI platform than either individual service would by themselves. And so what we do is we can even recognize objects like a listed hang. And so this is, on the left, we have a photo that we took. We can see that, it's different lighting conditions and it's not entirely sort of, clear to AI what this would look like. But if we have this reference image on the right, we can match them together as the backend does. And then we can say, you're looking at this particular thing in this particular place.
Gotcha. And to briefly touch up on the rest of our technology stack, for the middleware that we use to interact between our AI module and our front end, we used Flask as the web framework and Python as our programming language. And on the technology side, we decided to implement it in React JavaScript in a progressive web application. So the reason why we chose to use a progressive web application is because it would be a lightweight, thin client that would also be easy to update, and also gives us universal compatibility at very low cost. So we thought it was the ideal solution for our project. And that concludes the presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Great. I have a really quick question. Is just how much of the image API is mocked in that demo? So was that just like it will go to the lipstick screen no matter what? Yeah, how far?
Yeah, the front, the recognition right now is just mocked, but we do have it implemented. Just had some issues connecting the front and back end. So that was mocked, but it does recognize the image.
Yeah.
Well,
So
what data did you train it on, or does it kind of out of the box just do recognition on? It worked well with monuments.
It uses the Google Vision product search API, and so it's doing an object similarity search in a specific list of images. And so we found that object recognition for sort of arbitrary sculpture or whatever in the world is not something that can be very easily done at scale. And so we're sort of going through a pre-built index, and then that allows to sort of more efficiently pick, okay, so you're in a specific area, that narrows it down a lot. And so then you can search for a specific thing that you're looking for a specific thing, as opposed to here's an image, find this anywhere in America.
Cool.
I like this a lot. I've run into this with my kids a lot of times, like, what is that? And when I got my COVID shot, there was I swear it was a Calder statue. I can't find any information on it. So I really like the concept, and it's something I put on my iPhone. This was a 36-hour hackathon. If I could give you an extra 6 hours, what would you focus on?
Yeah, so we would absolutely love to have an extra 6 hours of the hackathon to help build out this project. What ended up happening was along the ways we suffered a variety of technical difficulties that were unrelated to the project that stymied some of our progress. So one of the things that we definitely would have done was to be able to connect the front end and the middleware, both of which are functioning independently, but unfortunately have not yet been connected. So adding those API endpoints into the middleware and having it being called from the front end, that's definitely the first priority. And the second thing I think is also to build out more robust community building features. Obviously, this relies on a lot of community collaborators to invest their own time into putting out these descriptions, and having things like reward incentives, upvotes, just building a community environment so that people can be incentivized to devote their time to improve this app is something that we think is crucial before we would launch this.
Do we have any more questions? Judges?
I'm all set.
If not, then thank you so much. You guys can leave the Zoom now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The square with 4 circles. Near sink, kitchen sink, the pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter and I were wandering by there, and he was painting it. The artist was there.
Cool.
And you've seen that? 3/4 inch paintbrush and like a cup of paint.
Yeah, Yale has a bunch of stuff like this that would be good. This app would be good.
Because you see stuff and you're like, what is that?
A lot of small art stuff. Yeah.
What was the name of the team? I know it was Loca, but
Huskies. the team name.
Okay. Hold on.
So let me know whenever we're done, and I can add the next student.
Ready?
I'm all set.
Right. Are we good to go? Right. I'm gonna add the next team then. So the next team, their team name is Insomniacs. They're the second team in the travel track. I'm adding them to the Zoom now. Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Just confirming, is your third teammate going to join you, or is it just the two of you?
Sir, actually, we got an issue that our teammate is traveling back to our hometown and
No
the
worries.
complete integrated project is with him. So can we just go with the video presentation as of now?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Just a minute.
Do you guys mind turning your video on if that's fine? Just because.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll just present this video, sir.
Yeah. All right, before you start, how this is going to work is that you have 3.5 minutes to present, 3.5 minutes for questions.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So because we're short on time, these deadlines are going to be like hard deadlines, which means I will have to stop you if you cross the limit. So try to make sure that your presentation is within those 3.5 minutes.
Yes, sir, sure.
Okay.
Can I start with the presentation, sir?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Explore is an AI travel-based web application that generates unique trip plans based on users' inputs. The key factor is that all your destinations will be hidden, and only when the user's geolocation matches with the destination, the places will be revealed. And for technology stack, we have used HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, and SQLite. And from Google Cloud, we have used 3 APIs and WebP storage to store and retrieve data on IPFS and Filecoin. Take a look at our business model. And finally, meet our team, and we'll straight away head to the application. So this is our landing page with few thoughts supporting travel and adventure. Here comes the features of our application and the feedback form. So let's log in. First, you get to enter your credentials, and if you're not a user, then you'll have to sign up. This is our homepage, and let's customize our trip. First comes the requirement form with country, state, type of journey, and time to travel. And secondly, we'll choose the budget, distance, and inclusion of kids or not. Thirdly is the number of dates and start dates. And finally, linking social media. Once you submit, the AI generates mystery boxes or travel plans based on your previous form inputs. Each mystery box has a unique name and contains a set of places which remains a secret. The duration and price is mentioned in the box. So let's start our journey. This is the route map of our selected mystery box. We get to see only road routes and pointers of certain places. No other places will be listed. For now, things will be shown static, and later the working model will be shown. In this plan, we'll be visiting 4 places, out of which 3 are hidden, and the starting point A will be given to the user in order to start their journey at a point. From then on, geolocation will be tracked, and you will be traveling through the blue path. Some landmarks will be given for the user to check if they are in the right route, and whenever your geolocation matches the start location, the destination is revealed, and some information about the place will be given. Even if you end up in the wrong route, Directions API sets the path right again. Once you reach the final destination, the review page shows up. And in here, you can rate the particular mystery box and add photos of your trip as your memories. And this will be kept private to the user. And it is stored using IPFS centralized storage with blockchain. And now let's return to the home page. In your profile, you'll see some of your info and traveled mystery boxes. And here you can add your own mystery box for other users to try and experience. To create one, you will have to fill in the details in a form, and the box will be created automatically. And here is an option for you to edit your profile as well. So here you can edit your profile and then log out, and this is all about Explore.
So this is a little demonstration of our application. We went on a short trip to test the app, and it turned out to be an amazing one. Since we started from a position given by the map and traveled quite a distance to find where we were going. Despite the fact that it was a short travel, we were ecstatic when we arrived at our destination because it was quite an unexpected one. And that's how Explore works. And that's all we have got for you folks. Thank you.
That's it about our presentation, sir.
Nice. Can you just describe the tech stack you have in mind for this? Where were you doing the mapping? It's a web app or a phone app, backend data store, AI.
Sure. Actually, the front end was completely developed using HTML, CSS, and basic JavaScript for functions. And the APIs used are completely from Google Cloud. That is a JavaScript map API, a geolocation API, and Ashwati, what's the other one?
We also use direction API to get the directions from two locations.
And moreover, to store the images, we are using the web3.storage, which is like a complete package built over Filecoin and APFS. And the backend has SQL, I mean SQLite, and that's it about.
It is a web applications.
So I have a couple of really quick questions that can be probably succinctly answered. So how are you using blockchain? I didn't catch that. Also, there's a profile feature. What is exactly is the social component? If you could just talk through that a little bit more. And then finally, like, how are you ensuring safety considerations? And relatedly, who is your target audience / user, right? Like, and like, how did you really get to this end design that you guys have presented here? So I know that was a lot. So there's blockchain, there's a social component, and then there's the target user analysis.
So actually, the target users are the ones who prefer like the adventurous trips more than a normal ones. Like who prefers going on a solo trip or with a family, who has an idea of what the place is going, but not aware of the places that is exist in the specific locations. And moreover, the images that are being uploaded in the file is directly being stored in the web3.storage here. It's completely decentralized, and the photos remain safe. And the purpose of this is like these photos won't be revealed anywhere, and the adventure feel and moreover the hype feeling of the application doesn't it's not let loose at any point, and that's why we used the photos to be uploaded in the web3.storage. And I hope I answered the question.
In the profile page, you will be also able to add new mystery boxes. Like if I have been visiting a few places, I can suggest my places with images as well. So that images shouldn't be revealed for the other users, or else that mystery, the secret thing which you have kept so far will be breaked if the images will be leaked. So what we've done is those images will be stored in this in a blockchain technology in a way that these images will not be revealed, and also in the profile page the users will be able to add their own mystery boxes.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. Can you clarify how did you calculate the estimated price that was shown in the little box?
Ma'am, it's just an approximation that we ourselves figured out when we had this trips, and it's just a calculation, average calculation of what everyone put through when we went on the trips to specific places.
Do any more questions or? No, all good. All right, thank you so much. You guys can leave the Zoom call now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm all set.
Yeah, sounds good. So our
What was the name of that team again? Sorry, I keep on losing.
Insomniacs.
Yeah, Insomniacs.
What was it? Sorry.
Insomniacs.
I got it. Thank you.
So our next presentation can be in person. So you can set up here or wherever. I'm gonna move. Yeah. I think Right, are you planning on sitting presenting or standing there? Whatever works.
I think I'll stay back.
Okay, I can just record this one. So we go to the next track, it's in university, and the team name is Clockwork.
Yeah, into the Zoom so I can screen share.
Yeah. So how this is going to work is that we have 3.5 minutes to present, 3.5 minutes per question. And because you're short on time, these deadlines are going to be hard, so try to make it time. All right, let me know when we're ready to start and we can.
Okay. Hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Abhijit Gupta. I was working with Jade on Clockwork. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here right now. Our problem statement is that high school and college students are swamped with deadlines from a variety of sources, and to manually create to-do lists and schedules only adds additional stress and fatigue. There are solutions that help business executives and CEOs maximize productivity by fitting as much as they can into a day. But our key observation is that university students don't necessarily want to maximize productivity. They have a set of tasks and they want to optimally complete those, taking into account social life, mental health, work-life balance, and more. And many adults are the same, but for now we're focusing on college students. So Clockwork aims to take in your deadlines, events, and goals and create a balanced schedule that also incorporates your personal preferences. And we use a graph representation to encompass several scenarios. So I'm going to jump right into the algorithm we use. This is our data representation. The top line is when the assignment is created or when a task is available, and the bottom is when it's due. So this problem set came out on Monday, was due on Wednesday, and maybe we work on it on Tuesday. And we can build this up, including dependencies between tasks, and it can get more and more complicated. So how we actually process this to create a schedule, we represent the graph structure using object-oriented programming, and we use a greedy algorithm to basically sort by the first due and largest item remaining. We then apply optimizations to balance the workload across days, or in the future, personalize based on user preference, such as like whether they want to work on the weekend. So this is an example of that previous graph I showed when you work on different tasks broken up by day and task. So this is an example of procrastination where you're taking on the first task immediately. And this isn't necessarily healthy because you do a lot of work at first and maybe that burns you out. Similarly, here's an example of procrastination where there's 3 days of straight 5 hours of work every day. And this is an example of how our algorithm can find a balanced schedule where there are still constraints imposed by the deadlines and times where things come out, but we're able to reduce the maximum hours of work per day. And again, we want to move forward into considering other factors such as weekends, whether they have an inclination towards like procrastination or procrastination, and if they prefer to work in large blocks or spread assignments out. And we use Python and the greedy algorithm to create the simulation. Moving into the server, we also created a full stack web application that allows users to sign up and view a dashboard and then create their own schedule. And just really quick, here's some of the technologies we used to make this happen. I'm going to go straight into the demo. Basically, this is our website. You can go and log in and create an account. So I'm just going to use an account I've created already, interacting with the backend. After logging in, we redirect to the dashboard where you can create tasks straight on this thing, edit things. You can change the start and due date by clicking. And maybe this is an example of a more complicated thing where you have a couple of readings and one long form essay that has a couple steps. You can see office hours starts and ends on Thursday. That's our current representation of an event. We aim to make that a first class object moving forward. And this is complicated. We don't want people to look at this as often. So say today's Tuesday, we can have a today tab that displays just the items that are due today. And this is the ideal way that people generally interface with the product, reduces stress, but also preserves all the information on the back end. And just really quickly moving back into the presentation, in terms of next steps, we aim to incorporate additional preferences into the optimizer algorithm, add first-class support for events and integrate with Google Calendars for time blocking, and then track metrics such as how long something took relative to how long you thought it would take to help users create like healthy and balanced schedules. So that's all I have. Thank you all for listening.
I like it. Did you use a specific data store for the graph?
So the data is currently stored in Redux just as a list of nodes and edges, with each edge being just the two IDs of the nodes it connects. And does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know of anyone who does something like this manually? And if no one is doing it manually, why not? Oftentimes, if something's really valuable, you'll find niche people doing it kind of manually.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think personally, I keep a list of long-term tasks, all my assignments for a given semester that are on the syllabus. But at the same time, I want to know what I'm doing this week. So I have a separate list of tasks, maybe for this week or even today. And I think that is a key element that I'm trying to incorporate into having the larger dashboard that has the complexity and allows you to really enter in your details, such as when an assignment came out and when it's due and what it depends on, but also a list of tasks that are due today. So I guess to answer your question, I'm not sure if the graph component is something that other people use. I think it's a helpful representation to think about this. But I think the idea of like separating out multiple levels of the to-do list will help reduce stress.
And then last question for me is, can you think of a way that you can use all the individual data in aggregate to help individuals? So if you have all that data, is there something cool you can do with it?
Yeah, I think totally the optimizing the algorithm has a lot of room for growth. We were able to build a very simple one right now, but being able to understand what user preference is in terms of, say we present a schedule, the user is allowed to move things and lock things into place. Like I really want to do this item at this date. And then we can learn from that to maybe based on like the number of days until deadline or the amount of hours per day to work on an assignment. I know personally when I've used other tools, I often disagree with the recommendations provided. And I wish I could change them and lock them into place in one way or the other and have the tool learn from me. And I think that's one future avenue of work.
Can you please go back to the user-facing interface? What's the outcome of the scheduling?
This or?
Yeah, so you wouldn't see the dashboard that you were drawing.
Yeah.
This part. This is just to like set the deadlines.
Yeah, so the idea that, so we weren't able to fully connect the front end and back end where you set the deadlines and then also run the algorithm. So this kind of front end is a representation of how one would set the deadlines. There would then be a middle step where the algorithm creates the actual timeline, which is then displayed to you. For now, in the to-do list, it is kind of representing the individual node as the day the item is being completed.
Got it. Thank you.
When you were first describing it, I had the thought that you're trying to optimize so that I do have free time.
Yeah.
Is there a place for those free times that I'm trying to optimize for to live in that schedule?
Yeah, totally. So I think I mentioned so far deadlines and events as kind of objects in this representation. I think another thing would be goals or tasks that don't have a specific start or end date, but have a desired amount to work on. And the idea would be that if you have a schedule like this, you wouldn't be able to go to the gym on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But if you were able to create a schedule like this, it could then kind of fill up the new free space consistently and put better habits and better routines into place in one's day. So those objects could be represented as maybe a third goals object in the backend.
How did you do the schedule builder UI? Did you use a library for that?
Yeah, so we use the Uber React digraph library. And we were able to kind of modify it to fit this use case quite well.
Cool. Are there any more questions? Are we good? I think you're good.
Okay,
so
thank
much,
you. Yeah, thank you all for your time and for volunteering here.
And what track was that?
University.
University's first track. Yeah. The project name was Clockwork. Let me know when.
I'm all set.
We have like 3 teams more.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
I like Janko. Gideon's and Janko. I think it's a good person.
No, they're not called Genco, they're outside.
Yeah, are we good?
They're not called Gen, they're called here.
Well, I'm going to have names because the names of the person speak about it. Sorry, all right, so are we good to go? Okay.
Also, I don't see the scores right now on there too.
Yeah, they've been up. I think some of them are being updated. So like all forms are being submitted.
Wait, is it under like YHack Teams? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same place, yeah.
No, so scores will be. I guess they keep getting updated.
Wow.
No, they're also. I told you they're also in the teams. So the teams that they have experience use this.
So score sheet. Okay. Thanks.
All right, Karen, do you want me to add you to the Zoom?
Yes, that'd be lovely.
This is the second university.
Yes, this is Janco, JANCOD. All right, so how this is gonna work is that you have 3.5 minutes to present and then 3.5 minutes of questions. Just because we're short on time, you're gonna have like hard deadlines to try to make sure that like we get done in those 3.5 minutes.
Got it. Okay.
Sounds good.
So do we want to just do the art demo instead of the video? Or like at least speed you the video.
Okay, so are we able to get started now?
Yeah, just let me know when you go down and I'll start time.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Hi everyone, we're Jane Codes and our app is called Here. So as you know, we're all college students, and one of the most frequent questions we ask or get asked almost like every day is, where are you studying today? And I feel like if you were a student or if you were a college student, that's a question that all of us have experienced before, right? And there are 2 primary methods where you can coordinate this, either through private messaging or through group chats. So private messaging, it can be a bit tiresome. You have to figure out exactly who you're messaging, formulate a message, and if you change anything, you just send it to 5 people, you have to change it to 5 people again. And it's a lot of social pressure, unnecessary social pressure, especially if this event, you don't really mind who comes, you just want to invite some people, but having that personal invitation means that you're expecting a positive reply. The other side is group chats. So you can create like an Algos group chat or your SweetMate group chat. And let's say that I'm going to study at a library at 2 p.m., which is in 4 hours. I put that in the group chat. There's 2 scenarios that can happen. One, it gets flooded, the group chat gets flooded with messages about PSETs exams, and then a person may never see that message, or somebody within an hour wants to study with you, but doesn't realize because it's been flooded on, they don't want to look at all the group chat messages. The other case scenario is nobody replies, and that's a bit awkward. It can make you not want to send this in a group chat again. Another reason I just want you guys to think is, why don't we send photos through group chats? Why don't we share all of our photos through group chats? And why do we do it on Instagram instead? It's because Instagram provides a platform where you can share something to a bunch of people who you want to share it with, but you don't particularly care exactly who interacts with it specifically. You just want to give it to the world to see. So what we're doing, what here is basically an app that enables you to send notification and invite different groups of people to come do events with you. So events can be either like a casual study session at Bass Library, or, thank you, or it could be even like a professor who wants to get lunch with their students. He's eaten at a dining hall, he wants to invite his students to come get to know him better. He can send a quick invite to his whole class. So quickly, this is our demo. This is loaded on Expo. On our first page is our current events. So this is all of the people that sent you, whether you're in a group chat and they send you that they're doing a 323 study session. I'll tell you how long the session has left, the location, as well as the person, and also the name of it. And you're gonna look through all of your friends who've sent you things. Next thing you have is your groups page. So you can search for groups. Let's say I want to find my algos group, and our event tennis group. So within these groups, you can take a look at who's in your session. Sorry, something is just falling out. I'm gonna share a different screen. So this is our video demo, but basically you can click these buttons and they will show whose members they are. You can search for members, add them. So for example, I'm adding these two people. You can also take away members and put them back in. And then from here, you can also create a new group. So I'm creating a new group called Trip to New York here. And then from here, you can also add a new event. So if I wanted an event that's called Study With Me, I can add that, add a location, and then also say when I'm gonna do it. And then once you send this event, you can send it to multiple groups. I'm gonna send it to my algos and computer science group. And then once you press create event, every member who is in this group chat will get a notification and also be put on their current events. So this video is actually from my mobile phone that was pre-recorded right now. Our system is not doing very well.
Yeah, sorry, our server just crashed. So.
Yeah, we did create this in 36 hours, so we don't exactly have the most stable connection right now. But I hope this gave you guys a better idea.
Yeah, here's a demo on my own phone right here. Yeah.
And then also, yeah, here's the sign in and login features. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And just like real quick, looking forward, even though right now this is also a really big pain point for students, which is reducing time due to like coordination. We also think this can solve a really big pain point for university administrators, which is increasing social engagement around students. Right now, the biggest problem for a lot of universities is that students don't really use their events platforms. And when they do, it's to register for very specific things their friends are already doing. And so what we see is like this app here tracks the students day to day much better than any other kind of application can, such as Google Calendar, because the majority of the students' day is taken up by things like social get-togethers, meals, study breaks, and those types of things. And that's what people go onto here to look for. And so looking forward into the future, we hope that universities will be able to use the platform to be able to better target their own events towards students who are also using this to do their day-to-day socials. And at the same time, it allows students to better kind of curate and dynamically work with what kind of like events they want to see from the school itself. So kind of in a monetization angle as well, we see that we can sell kind of official accounts to schools and have the schools kind of be able to use this directly with their students, so that students can see kind of their own social, very ad hoc dynamic calendar alongside the events that the school is doing, such as, like Carolyn mentioned before, small coffee chats and get-togethers with professors, or even like free food, or like other smaller events like that. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, for sure.
So I love this project, but I also have to disclose a personal bias. The very first startup I ever built was 9 years ago out of Morse on an app called Huddler, and it was a very similar concept where you could see the sort of the locations of all your friends when they walked into different dining halls or different parts on campus, the libraries, the gym, etc. You could create events, you could send events to different groups. So we ran into like a number of like questions that we would repeatedly get asked, right? So like, how are you distinguished from Foursquare? How are you distinguished from GroupMe? How are you distinguished from Facebook events? So like, what is your answer to like there being already a pre-existing ecosystem of social apps? Like there is Instagram, there's also Snapchat, right? Which shows you sort of like your social map, and you can, everybody, I don't know if people are using Snapchat as much these days, but still these things are out there. How does your app sort of fit within the ecosystem of things that already exist? Even Facebook Messenger, for example, is an example of something that could take market share away from you. So how do you think about that problem?
Yeah, so for sure. So that kind of divides into a couple different categories. So example, there's the Messenger app, which is like Messenger, GroupMe, big group chats. Carolyn already mentioned that. You're your request for a study session or a get together might likely be buried in a bunch of messages. That's why they're usually not as effective. The other type you mentioned is kind of like map apps like SnapMap. A lot of people use Find My to check their friends' locations, Foursquare. A problem with those ones is they don't give you notification whether the person actually wants to meet with you. And so it's still highly coordinated based on texts. And then the final type of stuff like Facebook events, that's a lot more formal. So larger events, larger get-togethers, things like that might be also coordinated on Google Calendar. And a lot of times the things you want to do are much more ad hoc. They're much more dynamic. They're things like, hey, I'm going to be studying in Bass Library in 3 hours from now. Anybody want to join me? And instead of having to text that in a group chat, you can just put it directly on the Here app, and anybody who wants to study with you can just show up as long as they're notified from it. So it solves a lot of like the core annoyances that those platforms don't have and integrates them into one platform. So the ad hoc, the dynamic level of having these smaller social get-togethers, along with being able to coordinate it much more conveniently than using an app like Foursquare, Find My, or like SnapMap.
Yeah, I also think just with like the whole SnapMap, that's something that we were considering of, do we want to add something location-based that you can see 24/7? But honestly, I already have Find My, so of course you don't really need that. But like Joseph said, this is to invite people. You don't want to invite everybody, or else we just always have a location everywhere. We invite specific group chats. And we have Instagram where you post photos, where you post like fun events. But this is for more like casual events that like, right now I'm about to go do something. Somebody come join if you want.
Low stakes, low social pressure.
Yes.
How big do you think the impact of this can be?
Yeah, so I think like the nice thing about this app is that it can work with just 10 people. So if I have my friends, I can get all of my friends onto it. Maybe that's like 10. And that already solves the pain point for me. But then the nice thing about this is that in order for you to like kind of use this, you need to have your friends on there. So if you get like maybe 5 people already on there, what's more than getting 2 more? 2 of your other friends who wants to also be aware of this. Or if you're creating a group chat, say, hey, we're also on this app. If you want to do study sessions, come join this app. And it's a very easy login as well, it's just a school email and password. And then as this expands, this can go through like the whole university, but then also we were talking about expansion to the administrators part of it.
Yeah, for example, the reason why the Facebook app platform was so great was because it allowed app developers to quickly access lots of people to use their applications. In the same way, university administrators have a hard time driving social engagement from their students. And by using an app like Here, they can more quickly get visibility of their events in front of students because a lot of them are using these for like more casual get-togethers. So we see the impact on both the university-wide level. If we're even looking farther than that, like at the company level too, companies like really big ones that want to organize more events or smaller things for their employees can also like use this to coordinate for that. So we see this working really well on a B2B level for larger institutions that want to increase engagement from their employees or from their students or from anything like that as well. So yeah.
I will just say, giving a brief piece of feedback, my company did try to scale a very similar app into New York. And I will say that life after college is very different, especially life after Yale College is very different in New York City and in other areas. So people aren't going to events like every other day or every day after you graduate. So that's just something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean that your concept is not awesome. I think it is pretty awesome. And then a second point of feedback, I do think that working with the administration is smart. We partnered with Yale Dining, we partnered with Yale ITS. So that is a good approach, and I would stick to that and sort of definitely take in feedback from them. But I'll defer to the other judges now. I've said my piece.
If I could actually respond to that, like just very shortly, we were actually kind of inspired by that, really, like your point about the New York City thing. We think that this app is actually kind of placed pretty well right now, considering that we're just coming out of a pandemic, and now we have small scale social gatherings that are kind of like getting back off the ground. You can actually have small gatherings, and it can be a bit informal, but then like larger gatherings are still a little hard to do. And so this app can really help facilitate and bring back and reconnect people who have been disconnected over the pandemic.
Cool. Right. Do we have any more questions? I don't think so. So thank you so much. You guys like, it's free to leave now, and the judges can like score you.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks.
So judges, just a quick note, we'll move on to our final track now, which is social good. And like as soon as you're done with school, please take your time, we can go on to the next project. I think we're ready to Zoom. Have you, sorry, just quick back, have you submitted any?
I can submit them now.
No, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure that there's no error. Yeah, as long as you have them. Can I let the next team in? I will, Lucy.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
sorry.
So the next team, their name is, give me a second, sorry. They are Costco Bear, that's their team name. And that's why I find them in the dropdown. I'm letting them to Zoom now. Sorry, what's the last one gonna be? The last team, like their project name is Ethicon, and they're, yeah, thanks.
Hello. Hello. Where's it? All of you. All right. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm George.
I'm Junha.
And basically, our thing is an automated AI news anchor. So next slide.
Sorry, quick thing before you start.
Yeah.
You guys have 3.5 minutes to present and 3.5 minutes of questions, and they're hard deadlines. So try to make sure you meet that time, please.
Gotcha. All right, cool. All right.
Okay. So the overview of the project is first of all addressing the issue that people are often oblivious to news. And with the demand for a platform that captures people's attention, we created an entertaining platform that can connect with younger generations. And its impact is that it can engage and educate a younger audience and also provide reliable venue of news. It can generalize to medical and manufacturing as well.
So basically here is our pipeline. So basically first we scrape news from reliable internet sources like NYT and CNN. Then this is summarized using an in-house deep learning algorithm, which we get into later if you guys are curious. The summarization script is used to generate the anchor voice using a Google API. The generated voice is used to animate an anchor using another deep learning module based on its speech characteristics. So we can get like realistic blinking and like realistic mouth movement. And then finally, the final thing is posted to Twitter. So here's a visualization of our pipeline. So here's the news source. And then we have a natural language processing module and a voice synthesis module, which is then fed into the deep learning animator module, which basically takes one image and then allows you to like move like left, right, change the eye, change the mouth. And it's a pre-trained model, but basically what we do is we map the speech characteristics to these actual motions to get the final image. So here is a demo of the thing. So basically this will talk about yesterday's news.
Officials from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention told Mr. Biden's top aides that it was not clear there was still public health rationale for keeping the border shut to most migrants. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan was voted out of office early Sunday morning. Pakistan's
yeah, and you guys get the point. So basically,
from the Centers for
the idea is that like by no means is our automated news reporter the end. Like our friends and our team, we basically do a lot of academic work in the field of like embodied intelligence, which is basically how AI can better interact with humans, do task planning, and sort of just like act like humans, human workers. They do this using an understanding of the world knowledge distribution. One possible distribution would be like a pre-trained language model, like GPT-3. So this prototype is simply the front end for the above. And basically you can like replace the animation with like a ray trace avatar or whatever. This is just a demonstration of concept. And then basically we can connect it with our task planning stuff to basically create like a very, very OP paradigm to do a lot of things. For example, automated service robots, manufacturing robots, and better conversational AI. So if you're curious about the exact details, William will talk about them.
Yeah, so for news summarization, we calculate topic feature embeddings for each sentence and use those to cluster news into clusters. So now we can generate a summary for each cluster using deep learning. And next slide. Next, we use these summaries to get the voice recordings through the Google API. And to get the images, to get the video, we essentially match an anchor up to the voice using machine learning so that we can do lip syncing and and we use like deep learning method to generate the actual images from the one static frame that we see.
Yeah, so that's basically our thing in very preview. So do you guys have any questions?
Well, are there copyright implications of scraping from CNN? Are you going to have business partnerships with different news platforms, or are you going to?
I think CNN actually makes like scraping free for everyone. So I also believe there's like a sort of like a case where like basically if you're scraping the news and just giving it people for information, it's basically like not illegal. But the main point is we really want to build this prototype. It's not just limited to like sort of like a AI anime news anchor. That was mostly to just like demonstrate the front end. The entire idea was to be able to combine it with our task planning, embodied intelligence, and other human-computer interaction algorithms to be able to create a general intelligence paradigm where like a person can interact with it, tell it to do some things, and then it will basically replicate it with little amount of data. So this can do a lot of things like automating kiosks. So like a lot of kiosks, like the ones at McDonald's, like the people, like the elderly especially, they have a hard time because they always want to go get a person. This you can provide like realistic conversation, and then it can like sort of classify the intent. There's many variations on this. Basically, it's like a sort of like a step towards like general intelligence. So it's based on our research as well as our like experience with like other projects sort of just congregated towards this area eventually.
I like the idea, but I think to kind of follow up on that, on the previous copyright question, governments have been asking Google to pay to display news results, which is what this app is doing. And so it seems like you kind of pivoted in your answer here. So I think it would be good if you could clarify what is the app that you actually like. That was the goal of the hackathon. Was it?
The hack app is just the sort of like the prototype where we basically show that like given some like sort of input driver that can accomplish any task, we can sort of just animate like a human that accomplishes tasks. So specifically our hack project is the AI animated news anchor. And then as for like the copyright question, like a lot of sources, they like provide like a lot of free information. So for example, Wikipedia, right? This doesn't have to be like, I guess for news, if you're like scraping NYT and stuff that explicitly prevent you, that might cause an issue. But if you're scraping from like less well-known sources and like have like a history information stored in like a database, you can sort of fuse the information, because like a lot of information, once like there's like a lot of sources that converge on like a specific point, you can basically sort of I guess determine it's like sort of like generally correct. And then with like a few fact checking based on like research from JSTOR, you can just sort of do some NLP paradigm to be able to synthesize news that way. Though that news generally might not be like the most recent or like the most breaking or might not be the most high quality, but we can always fall back on that case. And we can also, as someone mentioned before, partner with these companies, which they have, I guess, displayed a certain willingness as long as you're not using it for profit. So.
Well, setting aside not generating profit, if the natural language processing thing that comes up in my head is like, if I'm a reporter writing for print, and then I'm a reporter writing for radio or television, I'm going to write my copy differently. Are you changing the how it's being presented?
Yes. So basically what we do is like, we're not directly scraping. So what happens is our module basically sort of takes information from a lot of sources because we want diversity. And obviously everyone cannot read every source, right? So for now, we only like look at news sources, but eventually we can synthesize like sort of videos scrape, and then we can do like video captioning to analyze the video with some novel paradigm. OpenAI recently released clips, so there's like stuff to do like the language image distributions. We also get like stuff from like Wikipedia, and then fuse this information together to eventually produce like the output text. So we're basically like sort of changing like a lot of things. Like for example, in our paradigm, like we like take like all the relevant stuff, we cluster them, and then we do a two-tier summarization. So a lot of the stuff that they originally present is just like stripped down to like bare bones, like the information still remains, but like the wording and phrasing are completely different. So.
Judges, do we have any more questions?
What other applications have you thought through? And maybe just pick one that you, one other distinct from news anchor. Like what's like another compelling use case? So we could get around this copyright attribution issue that we've been.
Yeah, definitely. About. So a lot of service robots, I guess the time is not really that mature based on like the state of the art research to get like the service robots to work completely, because there's still stuff like intent classification stuff. But for manufacturing robots, there's been a lot of like there's been a lot of like hard coding like robotic arms to do this and that, and like the robotic arms have like basic actions. Recently, there have been a lot of like works based on like pre-trained language models that basically allow these robots to do task planning, i.e. break up a very complex task into sort of like very simple steps the robot arm can actually execute. And then you only need very minimal like data. So it's like very few shot learning to actually be able to train this robotic arm to do a new task. And then basically, I guess like the animation in this case might not be that relevant, but like the interaction and like the entire like paradigm that we like put out here is extremely relevant, because like the factory worker, they're not a programmer, right? They want to be able to naturally interact with like the robot like via like conversation or like maybe even text, right? And then like we can just change a few things here and there, and then sort of morph this project into that project.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry, do you have any more questions? Yeah, I think we're done with questions as well. So thank you so much for your presentation. Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh,
No, it's
okay, sorry, yeah. So we're done with the presentation. You guys can leave the Zoom now, and the judges will score you. Thank you so much. So the last team after this is called, their project name is Ethiskin, but on the list, I think you'll probably find them as Test Team, Please Ignore.
Okay.
But yes.
Sorry, what category are we in by now?
Social good. So this was social good as well.
Social
And then the last one, social good as well.
Can you clarify what what social good are we looking at?
I think generally something that can, I guess, help society in a way is like the broadest way I can put it. So I think for them, like that aspect was like helping maybe the elderly out like kiosks and stuff like that. But yeah. Yeah, that was.
Pretty hard question. Challenging question to answer if that is social good or not. It's very hard to try. Deep questions coming out from the hackathon.
I think I love the idea. I love the idea of how do you take something that's written to be read and turn it into something that's written to be spoken. It's a totally different style, right?
Totally.
And I think there's a NLP AI thing around that. I just never heard of it.
Also, let me know when I can let the next.
Oh.
Okay, we're good.
I'm good.
All right, so the next team, again, I think they're called Ethiskin, so we're good. They're called, so their project name is Ethiskin. I'm just like that. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm gonna let the person in.
I can't find that name in the list. How do you?
Oh, so their team name should be Test Team, Please Ignore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey Tyler, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi. Wait, just confirming. Your team name is Test Team, Please Ignore, right?
Yes, that's us.
Love that. Okay.
Could you give us one moment? I think we're having a difficulty with like our team member joining as well.
Just ask them to like use a Zoom link, and I can let them in using the waiting room. I don't see anyone from your team yet.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
give
sorry,
me 1 second.
I have one. Okay. You should be in now.
A moment.
Dan, do you want to talk to me? I'm in the chat. Hello?
Our team member joining.
Cool. We have one more team. All right. Is it just the three of you? Is the fourth member also joining?
It's the three of us.
Okay. So
I'll share the slide.
yeah. So just before you start, how this is going to work is that you have 3.5 minutes to present and then 3.5 minutes of questions. And we're going to have hard deadlines, which means that I will have to interrupt you if you cross it. So try to like keep it in those points.
Okay, perfect.
Otherwise, you're good to go, like start whenever, and I'll start timing you. All right. Is it just the three of you? Is the fourth member also joining?
Sorry about that. I was, I don't think we were expecting to get this far, so I think most of us were asleep up until minutes ago.
I'll share the.
So just before you start, how this is going to work is that you have 3.5 minutes to present and then 3.5 minutes of questions. And we're going to have hard deadlines, which means that I will have to interrupt you if you cross it. So I'm going to have a live stream on maybe? Okay, perfect. So otherwise, you're good to go, like.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Wait, do I log into the video? Okay.
I thought it was like 1 minute lag, but yeah, the live stream makes much more sense.
7-second delay.
Even stretch a bit.
This is the last thing and then we're done.
Yeah, I'm joining the, hold on, I need to share the screen. All right, so we're at the scan, and basically our product is a barcode scanner that you can use on your mobile device that will get the UPC of any product that you scan to find the parent company and their ethical practices. So by scanning the UPC and finding the parent company, it sends the name through a UI or a API to find a sentiment analysis score for the human rights and their environmental impact, basically showing like the company that you're supporting and what are their like ethical practices and things like that to make better choices. Here's our demonstration of a Figma.
Yeah, so as you can see, our homepage starts out with two options, a scan and a search option. So when you click scan, it takes you to a camera module where you can scan your barcode. Once you scan the barcode, you'll be taken to a page, an overall score page, where there'll be like the overall score and then a list of summary and articles. And then if you click on like, say overall score, next page, you'll be taken to like a score breakdown where it'll show you like a different, like the topics and like reasons why the company got the topics. And yes, and then on the right, you can see the search options where you can type in the name of the company, and then you'll see the overall scores. And yeah.
So the links on the score breakdown are for like the top articles and headlines referring to the company, and it can also link to like tweets and different news articles that the API finds from the company name. So this was built in two parts, one being the Android Studio application. This just gets the barcode and sends back to the server. The server-side Node.js application receives the barcode input and will use the UPC to find the parent company name. After finding the name of the company, it does a sentiment analysis on like news articles, Twitter tweets, and other social media posts to calculate an ethical score. And finally, this is sent back to the application. So this is on Android Studio, we use the Google Machine Learning API, the Camera X. This can recognize the barcodes on images, and we just used a Node.js server for the backend. Tim, you can do this one.
Oops, sorry, let me unmute. Sorry, I'm muted. Oh, I'm not muted. Sorry. With technologies. So the challenges was really the Android Studio was not a great application to use, but we really powered through that. We had some minor accuracy issues with UPCs because some products would overlap, so we need a way to differentiate that. And not every output we were able to get a UPC corresponding to because our database that we were using wasn't it was a free solution, so it wasn't necessarily the most accurate. And our prototype Android application was both very large, being over 100 megabytes because of the machine learning part of it, which we'd like to certainly slim down. And also we didn't have a very good UI in the end for it. So we'd like to really overhaul that as some of our challenges. But we are quite proud of building a complete RESTful API. to service our application, as well as web scraping various sites to pull the parent and subsidiaries and perform sentiment analysis for the first time for a few of our members here, to really get a understanding of how the company is doing ethically in both environmental and just kind of human rights ethics. And for none of us having ever worked with Android Studio, I think we did very, very well with the Android Studio, experience. And then what's next is we'd really like to build a full version of our API, and also very vastly improve the accuracy of our ethics score and how we and explain how we calculate that to our users. Because right now it's a bit of a mystical process because it just returns a couple articles and a number, and we really need to refine just how good that is and how we represent that to the user. And we need a much larger database of items and user interface changes to really make this the shining project that it can be.
Thank you. I think we'll take questions.
How is this different from like the USDA organic stamp or corporate ESG, environment, social and governance scores, sort of other standards that might be out there?
I can take that. I think that the issue with those is you kind of see them over and over and over again, and it's one stamp or one logo that can mean a whole number of things. But let's say let's take a company, for example, Nestle, which is known for a lot of human rights violations in, specifically its chocolate gathering industry. It's hard to know exactly why it's bad, other than it doesn't have the stamp. So we want to be able to show consumers that this is what you're supporting and this is what you're not supporting by, and this is what you're, hopefully showing, showing with your money what you support. And it's specifically for, these practices. You can say, I don't like this, versus in the ethical trade is a very vast, thing like that. And in some ways it couldn't even allow for choosing a lesser of two evils, which is not something I like, but is certainly an improvement over, the bigger brand because it's easier. In some ways, yeah.
Can I ask, so you had Nestle as your example. They make a huge variety of products. How would you, and I would expect if I buy bottled water, the potential ethical issues there will be different from the chocolate you mentioned. How would you take that into account?
Well, one of the things we had, that come up in our previous round of interviews that I think would be very important is so far we just look at the parent of the company. So if we look more into build a detailed overview and tree that the user can easily navigate of the company and its parents. So for example, if we're going with, Coca-Cola has like Dasani water as one of its brands. In Britain, there was a whole issue where Dasani water was tainted when it first became manufactured, and public opinion became very bad, and therefore the brand failed. Nowadays, it's not really an issue, it's public perception, but you can kind of show that, yeah, maybe this brand isn't as bad as we thought, and it's, maybe its parents aren't doing good things, and the brand itself is doing better things. So, I think addressing that is building a tree that a user can traverse, such that they can really get a history of the product and its relations.
Okay, thanks.
I think that answers your question. Maybe I misheard it, but.
Do you have any more questions? Cool. We're good.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, you guys can leave the Zoom now. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we should stop the live stream.